Hello, welcome to my law office. My name is Bradley Bailyn, and over the next 2 or 3 minutes, I would like to give you some form of an introduction to bankruptcy and help you to understand what's going to be involved in the process. So let's start here. Let me tell you what bankruptcy is and what bankruptcy is not, so you understand, and you'll probably feel a lot less guilty about thinking about filing bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is not a one-way gift where you just take money from your creditors and give them nothing in exchange. A lot of people think that that's what it is, including a lot of legislators, but it's nothing, it's nothing like that. What bankruptcy allows you to do is level the playing field with the creditors. This is how the capitalist system works as far as you're concerned, okay? Creditors have the right to try and make money by lending you money. The problem is not in lending you the amount that you're going to need to pay back the initial money. I'm sure you want to pay that back and they want to get that back. The problem is in the interest, the penalties, the late fees, the legal fees, all those other fees that you never understood and didn't intend to incur, which make it impossible for many people to repay their debt. Now, that is very, very profitable for lenders. And again, that's totally okay. That's what makes our economy the greatest economy in the world. But on the flip side, the people who borrow the money are the other half of the equation, and the Constitution very clearly takes care of the people who are borrowing the money as much as the people who are lending the money. Under the Constitution, we can have bankruptcy courts, and those are courts of equity, meaning fairness. So the way a bankruptcy is going to work in a practical sense is we put together a list of everything that you owe, and we also put together a list of all of your income and all of your expenses and everything that you own. And if there's no realistic way that you can repay your creditors, then we have any option available to us that the court feels would be fair. Typically, that's going to consist of one of 3 things. It's going to consist of getting rid of all of your debt, if realistically there's just no way you're going to be able to pay it at this point in your life. Getting rid of some of your debt, representing the debt that either you cannot pay or that you simply cannot get rid of for various reasons. Or paying all of your debt, which sometimes people do. They just need to spread out the debt over time because the amount of money is not unfair. It's just the terms on which they need to repay it, which is unfair. And so, a lot of times when someone is getting foreclosed, that's what they need. They're not necessarily trying to pay less to their creditors. They're trying to restore the situation to what it was previously, where they're paying a certain amount of money per month and they don't need to pay $40,000 down or whatever the request may be in order to resume a normal relationship with the bank. So all of those things are on the table for us. And so that's what's on my mind when you give me a call. So let's talk about what the process is going to be between the two of us if you call. So the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to ask you a few questions, just roughly about what you earn, what your expenses are, how large your family is, what you own, and what your debts are. What I'm looking for, first of all, is whether the debts that you need to deal with are legally dischargeable in bankruptcy or whether they're legally protected in bankruptcy. And there's different levels of protection in bankruptcy. So if they're protected, they may be partially protected or fully protected or potentially even super protected. So I just need to know what I'm dealing with on one side. And then on the other side, I just need to understand roughly what your ability to pay is so I can get a sense of what kind of justice you're likely to receive from the court. Because you're not the first person to show up in bankruptcy court. It's already very well known what kind of justice is going to be available and under what circumstances. So we may discuss other options. Sometimes bankruptcy is just not the right option. Sometimes there are debts that are already invalid. Sometimes the debtor just has no ability to pay, is what's known as judgment proof, and so there's no even reason to even waste the money. So a very small percentage of the time we can just settle it with the creditor outside of court because it's just so obvious what's going to happen in bankruptcy that maybe we can just save all of us the effort of having to go through the process. And sometimes the debtor just hasn't used every non-bankruptcy, less expensive option that's out there. So if that's the case, then we may try to do that kind of thing. But for most people, bankruptcy is a possibility because the typical person who calls about bankruptcy is struggling. So if you're struggling, then chances are some form of bankruptcy is going to work out for you. So what I'm going to do at that point is email you a questionnaire along with a list of documentation that I'm ultimately going to need to provide to the court system and that I'm going to need in order to create your paperwork that we file for the bankruptcy. So after you send that to me, I'll invite you to come to my office and you'll bring me the documents. We'll look them over. We'll speak for a little bit. And if you can pay for the full bankruptcy at that time, great. If not, then you'll make a down payment. And over the next few weeks or few months, as I perform the analysis and ask you for additional information and let you know what other documents I might need for the court, you'll have the opportunity to be on a payment plan and make additional payments as you go. And once I'm finished and you're finished, then we can go ahead and file the paperwork. The nice thing about that is the automatic stay kicks in, assuming that you haven't filed bankruptcy in the past and caused yourself not to be eligible for the automatic stay. But if it's your first bankruptcy in many years or your first bankruptcy ever, then you're going to have the benefit of the automatic stay, which means no creditor can take any action against you, include no further action against you. So they can't evict you if you haven't already been evicted. They can't foreclose you if you haven't already been foreclosed. They can't continue pursuing lawsuits against you. If they're garnishing your pay, they have to stop garnishing your pay. There's so many different things creditors can do. They have to stop calling you, but all of those things have to stop as soon as we file the bankruptcy. The stay is automatic. That's why it's called the automatic stay. And it's really one of the most powerful aspects of the bankruptcy, second to the discharge, where your debts might be eliminated. Any rate, so about 30 days later, you're going to come before a trustee at the courthouse who will basically just ask you the same questions that are already on the paperwork that we filled out. And the trustee's job is just to make sure that you were paying attention and I was paying attention and all of the information on the paperwork which was submitted to the court is completely accurate, because again, you're asking for an adjustment of the financial rights of yourself relative to the creditors, and the court is all about fairness. It's not about gifting the creditors, it's not about gifting the debtors. It's about shuffling the deck to make sure that everybody is once again placed into a fair situation and no one has such a huge advantage over the other that the other can never get out, and you end up in basically debt slavery, where that's what they're trying to keep people out of. So the court wants to know that you've been truthful. Once the court determines that, then if it's the easier bankruptcy, and there's several types of bankruptcy which we'll discuss over the phone. If it's the easier type, then 2 or 3 months later, you're probably going to have your unsecured debts dismissed and you'll be done. If it's the harder kind of bankruptcy, then we'll be going on for a while, and for 3 to 5 years, you'll be making payments to the court to help pay some or all of your debts to your creditors. But no matter how we do it, it's going to end up making your life way, way easier than it was previously, because the whole point of the bankruptcy is to reduce your obligations to the point where you're able to take care of yourself and take care of your family without feeling like you've barely got your face above water every day, and you don't even want to wake up So let me just briefly tell you about some of the situations that bankruptcy can help you deal with, and then I'm going to go and you can get in touch if you feel that something I offer could be helpful to you. People come in a lot because of business debts that they've guaranteed personally. For example, commercial leases are very expensive, and a lot of landlords will say, okay, I will only give a lease to your business if you sign a personal obligation on the lease. So then you break the lease or you need to leave, whatever the case may be, and you could end up owing $100,000, $200,000, $1 million right away to the landlord. And so you're gonna have no choice but to file bankruptcy. Sometimes people are being foreclosed. It's a very similar situation to a commercial lease. The contract that you would have on a loan, on a mortgage or a home equity line of credit or whatever it may be, where you miss a payment or 2 payments or 3 payments because you have a medical emergency or you lost your job, whatever it may be, and now the entire loan comes due and you can't go back to the way that you were. So a lot of people, in an effort to save their home, will need to file bankruptcy to get that level of fairness restored by the court system. People also come in because they need to just get out of contracts that they've signed, such as their home lease, their automobile lease. Filing bankruptcy oftentimes allows you to get out of whatever contracts you need to get out of. So people will come in just to get out of obligations like that, which are, long-term obligations which are choking them. Also, sometimes you're getting sued personally, where there's been a judgment against you personally, and paying the legal fees to defend yourself is just impossible. Or the judgment has already come down, but paying the judgment is impossible. And there are some lawsuits that you just have to pay, and there are some, as we talked about earlier, there are some debts that are just protected. But if it's a typical civil lawsuit stemming from your job, such as, for example, you're a contractor and you did a bad job on somebody's house and they sued you for $200,000 and they won, that's the kind of thing that you can have discharged in bankruptcy under a lot of circumstances. A lot of people don't know that, but it's like bankruptcy is very powerful. It's really a great tool. And we have a joke in our family that bankruptcy is our family business. And if you remind me when we're on the phone, I'll tell you the story. It's very funny. What else? So I think that's pretty much it. Again, my name is Bradley Bailyn. I hope I'm a little bit more interesting than the other bankruptcy attorneys that you may watch videos of. I hear that I am. My phone number is 646-326-9971, 646-326-9971, and my email address is Brad, that's B-R-A-D, at bailynlaw.com, B-A-I-L-Y-N, law.com, that's B-R-A-D, at BAILYNLAW.com. Thank you and have a pleasant rest of your day.